So moving forward, I would request everybody to ask questions, and it is open for all. I would request if you can just raise your hand before I can mark somebody in.
సార్ లాస్ట్ ఇయర్ ఇన్వెస్ట్మెంట్ ఎంత వచ్చేసింది EB-5 వీసాస్?
Okay. Jagriti, are you here now? Yeah. So he's basically asking you how many investment were there in the EB-5 last year from India specifically, if we have any figures to that.
I don't know the answer. India always stakes out a significant number of EB-5 investments on an annual basis. It's actually up there towards the top of countries on an annual basis with regards to the number of EB-5 investors. But I apologize.
Yeah.
I don't have an exact number from India for last year.
Can you describe on the number of visas, student visas, work visas issued?
Do you think that's part of the EB-5 for the student as well as the work visa?
No. Student and work visas are separate from EB-5, so I wouldn't be able to speak directly to student or work visas per se, other than in very general terms. But it's a very separate program. Those are very separate programs from the EB-5 visa program.
Yeah. Next question, please.
That's a good question. Typically 3. Typically, there may be more, there may be fewer, but typically on average for every one investor, there are 3 derivative visas or 3 additional visas that go along.
For 3.
The amount of capital depends on the nature of the project in which the investor invests. If the investor makes an investment in a project that is in a low employment area in the United States, or it's in a rural area of the United States, areas that are called targeted employment areas, areas in which the U.S. federal government is encouraging more investment, then the amount of capital required is $800,000 USD. If an investor invests in a project that is outside one of these areas, the required investment is $1,050,000 USD.
Thank you. Next question, please. But I think, Aaron, this confusion has been there. So in fact, I was under the impression myself that specifically for the EB-5, if a husband applies for EB-5, automatically the wife as well as the children get involved in it. So if a person has 2 children, so I think 3 are allowed, or it's basically a husband, wife, and a son or daughter, whosoever is there.
No, the children would be required. Typically, the average number of individuals that are wrapped into if you want to call it that, wrapped into an EB-5 investment initiative would be 3. The husband or the wife, whoever the investor is, the spouse, and 1 child. However, it's not limited to that number. On occasion, there is simply the investor, and on other instances, there is the investor, the spouse, and 3 children or 4 children.
Okay. But so say, for example, if somebody needs an add-on after the restricted numbers that he has, maybe he wants his parents to be engaged in that too. So do we have a provision where we don't give the exact or the whole amount of EB-5 program, but give a certain sum of money to get them involved in it in the same program that I've taken?
No. If for some reason the additional family members are unable to apply under the investor's EB-5 investment application, there would be a need for a new investment to include additional members of the family, which means another 800,000 or another 1,050,000.
I see. So it's going to be in a new nutshell altogether. You have to start the investment once again in that.
Yes. And there are families that I understand there are families in India who have made more than one investment in order to bring more than one individual, more people from the family to the U.S.
Great. I think that answers quite well. Next question, please.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we are not able to see. Yeah.
Okay. Would my global income and assets be taxable in both my country and origin and in the United States?
So the question is basically, say for example, if I've taken the EB-5 program, I've become a citizen of US. So am I taxable for both India as well as US, or it's going to be only focused towards India or focused towards US?
Global assets. So you would be taxable on all US assets as well as all assets in India, and if you had assets elsewhere in the world.
Okay.
How much time must I spend in the US every year to keep my permanent residency?
Well, if you're awarded a green card, if you're awarded permanent residency in the U.S., citizenship in the U.S., you're not required to stay there for any amount of time. You can come and go as you please. You would be issued a U.S. passport.
Okay. Can money be gifted by a parent or other relative be used for an EBE investment?
So they're saying that can money be provided as a gift from the family members to apply for EB-5 program?
The answer is yes, but it's a qualified yes. The Department of Homeland Security, which is currently the organization in the United States that oversees the evaluation of EB-5 investment applications, evaluates very stringently what they call the source of funds. So gifts are certainly allowable in order to help facilitate the investment. But if that gift comes from a family member who owns a business, or a grandmother or grandfather, or from the mortgaging of a home or more than one home, the U.S. government is going to scrutinize those source of funds very carefully. And they spend a lot of time going into detail with regards to where the money came from, whether the money that was offered came from legal or illegal or questionable sources. That's not to say that most people provide illegal source of funds. It's simply to say that regardless of where the funds come from, they will be heavily scrutinized. And when there is a gift made in an effort to facilitate the investment, it'll automatically trigger scrutiny, because you have somebody who is not coming to the U.S. providing dollars to someone who is. It's just how they do it.
Thank you.
Okay. Next question, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
చెప్పండి అడగండి ఏమన్నమా for all the dependents or the family, suppose an investor invests and he gets 3 visas, other 2 can work there. Will they get work permit to work there?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Next question, please. Are there any more questions, Sugandha, or should we go for one-to-one? Yeah.
If I were to invest in a citizenship and my children were to study abroad, would they be considered as a US citizen and pay the same fee, or would that pay it like any other citizen who's not an American citizen?
So the question is, if you were making an EB-5 visa investment, how would your children be treated?
Right.
I think here the catch is that already the children are there in US studying, whereas you are in India, you have applied for EB-5. But will they still be considered, since they are your children, for the EB-5 program as well for residency?
They certainly can be, and a lot of EB-5 investors take advantage of that. There's also, under the current law, under the new law, there's also a provision that allows for what's called concurrent filing. So if a student from India is studying in the US under a student visa, and his or her mother or father decides to make an EB-5 investment, the student is allowed to file for citizenship concurrent with his investor parent's application, making it much easier for the student to secure citizenship long before, presumably, they would be able to do so under a student visa, which obviously would expire at some point. So the concurrent filing that's allowed for students is new in the statute. and very welcomed by everybody at IIUSA because it benefits all of the stakeholders and it makes it much easier to have conversations with potential EB-5 investors who have children studying in the United States.
Thank you so much.
Any more questions?
He's asking that what was the response for these kind of workshops or seminars we have organized at Delhi and Mumbai?
What was the response that we had at the other events?
Yeah, other events at Delhi and Mumbai.
Very favorable. A lot of people, a lot of interest, a lot of questions, hopefully a lot of meaningful and helpful answers. I was very grateful to Mayank and PhD for helping to set things up, but I think there was a tremendous amount of press inquiry, which is also very beneficial. So I would say by and large, they were very successful events, and I hope that those attended learned a lot about the program and potential projects.
చాలా ఎంకరేజింగ్ గా ఉందని చెప్తున్నారు అమ్మా. He is asking what was the investment from India for this EB-5 and then last year, and what is your prediction of increase of that such investment this year?
Again, I don't have specific numbers for the investments from last year. I predict, however, that the number of investments will go up. It seems counterintuitive because the investment levels have gone up. The minimum investment level now is 800,000 USD. However, the types of investments that are available have expanded. There's a significant emphasis on rural programs, rural projects. But more importantly, unlike any other time in the EB-5 history, there is stability for the program and stability in the marketplace. In other words, the regional centers in the United States, all the stakeholders in the United States, as well as all potential investors abroad, can rely on the program being alive and well for at least 5 years. That's never been the case before. It's always been 1 year and then let's see, 1 year and then let's see. Now we have 5 years. It's an incredible opportunity to establish stability and to build a foundation. And so for those reasons, I predict there will be a lot more interest in EB-5.
Great. Any more questions, please? Yeah.
Once again, I have a question. So if someone's in USA already with the H-1B and already working there and filing taxes, are they eligible for EB-5? And how fast would the process take for them to get a citizenship?
I don't know the answer. I'd be foolish to try to answer it because I could make something up and give you incorrect information. My suggestion would be to raise that question again later this afternoon with one of the panels. There will be EB-5 immigration attorneys there who will be much better equipped to answer that question.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any more questions? Yeah. Sugandha, are we good to? Yeah. Then we can open the hours for one-to-one interaction with Aaron and Mackenzie. Okay. Thank you so much all for coming, and I would request you to kindly join us for the high tea as well. Thank you.